President Joe Biden has said that he wants to see the nation's schools reopen for in-person learning as soon as possible, making it one of his goals for his first 100 days in office. Joining me now on Skype to talk about what this may look like is Kathleen Porter-Magee, Superintendent of Partnership Schools, a network of 9 urban Catholic schools in New York and Cleveland. Kathleen, welcome back. Nice to see you. No doubt this is an ambitious goal. From your point of view, what needs to happen in order to make it work?
Well, I think there's a number of things. I think first and foremost, when it comes to Catholic schools, we've actually been leading the way in school reopening. So we're really excited that President Biden and his whole administration is putting the full weight of his administration behind this goal. Catholic schools around the country have been open. Our 9 partnership schools have been open with minimal interruption since the first day of school. And there's really a lot that you need to put in place to make that happen. I think first and foremost, you need to make sure that you have the commitment of leaders and of leadership to open. It really takes a lot. It takes a lot of trust building on the part of the community. It takes a lot of planning and coordination. I think the second thing, and this is one of the things that I think the Biden administration is trying to prioritize, is the vaccinations. And so I think one of the things that we hope to see is Catholic school teachers, particularly those who have been in person, at the front of the lines when vaccines are available.
Yeah, Kathleen, as you had mentioned, many of the nation's Catholic schools have remained open during this pandemic, taking precautions, of course, to protect students and teachers. What impact, if any, will this plan have on them? And what are the lessons maybe learned by Catholic schools that remain open that may help?
I think there are actually a number of lessons learned that hopefully will be helpful to other schools who are kind of following the lead that Catholic schools took. I think first and foremost, making sure that you have really clear plans in place, making sure that you have the PPE that you need. Obviously, you want to make sure when you're opening schools, you have adequate ventilation, you have masks, you have everything that you need to cohort students, to keep people separate. You also need to make sure that you have a very clear plan in place. Eventually, a positive COVID case is going to show up in your schools, and you need to know, what are you going to do? How are you going to keep the community safe to make sure there isn't transmission within the school? How are you communicating to parents? How are you communicating to teachers? And I think making sure that you've got the planning in place, that you have the supplies that you need in place, and that you have the community trust is essential to ensure that we can open. And I think that for Catholic schools in particular, finding the resources to do that can be really challenging. And so when I look to the Biden administration, what I really hope is that they will make sure that whatever federal funding is available to public schools is equally available to Catholic schools, especially because Catholic schools have been leading the way in school reopening since September.
Yeah, and as we know, many public schools are still adhering to hybrid or even complete online learning. Do you think that's helped to reinforce the importance of parochial schools and maybe even boost enrollment?
Absolutely. We've seen that. So it's interesting. We run schools in both Cleveland and New York. In Cleveland, where our families have access to vouchers and tax credits, we've seen enrollment explode. Our enrollment increased by about 40% because the Cleveland public schools were not open. And what communities need, what parents need, and most importantly, what children need right now is at least the option to attend school in person. And so I think when you have the commitment of Catholic schools and when you have access to the funding you need, you do see enrollment increasing. And so I think right now what we need is a nationwide call to action. I think one of the things that COVID has laid bare is the need for school choice in America across all communities.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have a lot of time left, but I do want to get your perspective on this. Can you talk a little bit about the benefits of in-person learning for children and possibly the ramifications of not having that face-to-face interaction with teachers and classmates?
It's so important. In-person instruction is essential for almost all students. We know that children suffered in the spring when all schools across the nation were forced to shut down. We know that school districts had trouble keeping track of students. Students had trouble keeping up with their academic learning. And now some students, they're coming up on their 1-year anniversary since the last time they set foot in classrooms or in school buildings. We know there are going to be social emotional impacts on them. We know there are going to be academic impact. And I think when it comes to Catholic education, part of the reason that so many Catholic schools opened is because we really see that the human person is the center of education, and we know how much children can suffer if they don't have that option to attend in person in school. And so I think that the impact of the nationwide school shutdown is going to be felt for a generation.
Kathleen Porter-Magee, Superintendent of Partnership Schools, thanks so much for coming on, and thank you so much for your insight today.
Thank you.